Hello everybody, it's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter, and this is, what episode is this? Episode 105. Hard to believe I've done over 100 of these Idiot Quilter things, but anyways, let's move on. Newest project, I made this. Yeah, a little lighthouse. It is in the hoop, combination freestanding lace and applique. And I think it turned out pretty nice. You know how I love these little houses and things like that. And yeah, I've got them sitting upstairs in my living room, and there's a little tea light. You can't see it in the video. It's on right now, but it's just about worn out of its battery. And this top pops off, and you put a little tea light in it or whatever. And it looks quite nice, I think, on the table. And I love making this kind of thing. So I'm going to make some more. Actually, I'm going to see if I can find some that have more of a nautical theme. I don't know why I like nautical themes. I always have. I am not a fan of water. I'm not afraid of it or anything like that. It's just I'm not a big fan of water. But I like things like lighthouses and ships and stuff like that. So I'll see what other ones I can find and maybe make and create a little end table sort of display of these things. But anyways, this was a nice break from doing regular quilting. I like to do a little bit of embroidery between projects. It kind of clears your mind and gives you something else to think about. So that's one of the projects that I was working on. I've also been making some gifts, and you've seen these before, but I've added an embellishment to them. These are my little 3D printed, well, the base is 3D printed pin cushions, and you can see right here that I have added a couple of freestanding lace butterflies that I did in my embroidery machine as well, just to decorate them up. And as I said, these are going to be gifts, and that's all I'm going to tell you right now, because just in case those people are watching, I want it to be a bit of a surprise. And along with those, now this might give it away, okay, let me grab things here, is a mug rug. And as I said, this might give away what I'm giving this to, but it says the Idiot Quilter over here. I don't know if you can see it. There it is. And has the date March 2021 on it. And I made a bunch of these as well. Now, I'm not a fan of making mug rugs because to me, I find them useless. But you want to know something? Never say never, because I made an extra one for myself and I am using it. And I kind of like it. And they're washable as well. You have to press them afterwards with a hot iron. But yeah, they are. Now, just back to these little pin cushions. This part up here, everybody knows how to do these, I think. You just cut out a circle of fabric, put in like a basting stitch around it, put in your fluffy polyfill, and you know, tighten it up and knot it, and away you go. And then you glue gun it inside this little holder. However, I saw a video that uses little, I don't know what you call them. They're nylons, but they're like little nylons, little nylon socky things. And I got these at, get the glare off, I got these at the dollar store. And there's 2 pairs, so there's 4 of them in there. And what you do is you take your polyfill and you drop it all inside one of these and make it round, tie a knot in the end of it, and it keeps everything nice and neat. Then you put it inside the fabric. And it's a neat little trick, because when I made them the first time, I was just taking the polyfill and putting them into the circle piece that I'd cut out of fabric. And you know, you'd be sitting there with one finger, you need 3 hands actually, getting your fingers down inside there to hold the polyfill in while you're trying to tie the knot to hold it all together. This makes that a lot easier, and I find it also makes it a little rounder as well. And I bought several packages of these, $1.25 at Dollarama, that's Canadian money. And like I said, you get 4 individual socks, so you can make 4 pin cushions out of those. I'm sure the lady at the counter was wondering why I was buying these that day, but oh well, let her keep guessing. Adds a little thrill to her life, maybe. Okay, so that's what I've been working on, and I do have a quilt behind me. It's called Broken Block, and it's Broken Block because I improvised it out of a bunch of orphan blocks that I had. And I'm going to talk about it in more detail later on, because that is the quilt that I'll be critiquing this week. Okay, so what else happened this week? Well, we had Craft and Chat, and we have that the first Wednesday of every month. We're a small group, but we're growing. We had a couple of new people at the last one. And Craft and Chat is simply, you come, it's a Zoom thing, you get on there and you work for a few hours on a project. And it doesn't matter what it is. Quilting, sewing, crafting, whatever. And we talk. And sometimes we don't talk. Sometimes we just sit there in silence and work on our projects as well. It's very informal. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, like I said, it happens the first Wednesday of every month. I do not record it, because that would be pretty boring for someone to watch on YouTube if you're not part of it. And it also takes the pressure off people, because some people get a little, skitterish about being recorded, and I understand that. And it's just fun. It's just very informal. In fact, the model that I'm using there for doing Craft and Chat is basically the same kind of thing, same procedure I'm going to use for the most part with the upcoming retreat. So we'll talk more about the upcoming retreat in a few minutes. But now let's talk about what I'm working on next. Well, what I'm working on next is I'm taking one of my UFOs and I'm going to quilt it. Now yesterday I got it all layered. It's one I call Celtic quilt. It was made from leftovers of the Stonehenge fabrics, and I did show it that when I was talking about my UFOs back quite a few episodes ago, and I will show it to you again probably next week if all goes well. I'll have it quilted. But what I'm going to quilt it this time with, I am going to do a form of ruler foot quilting, but I've been seeing these templates on Facebook and on Amazon that you can buy that essentially work with your ruler foot, but they are kind of like well, this is what they look like. This is one. I only bought one so far. This is a meander design, and basically your foot fits down inside of this and you just follow the pattern around and you get it quilted, and then you turn it to go to the next one and back and forth. So I bought this one, and it wasn't that expensive. It was under $20 Canadian. And as I said, there are other designs. Although I'm having some problem finding designs that I like, I have to explore this a little further. But I wanted to give it a try. So I did. I experimented on a little tiny sandwich that I layered. And you probably won't be able to see this very well. There it is. Okay, you can see in the black thread. I probably should have done this practice piece on a piece of white or something like that. But I had this piece laying around. So you can see. And it looks like free motion quilting, but you did it with this template. And here's what the back looks like. I don't know if that shows up any better. Not really, because it's just white. It was the bobbin thread. But it's very easy to use. And so, I did it on this small piece. So now I'm going to try it on a full-size quilt and see how that goes. And of course, I will let you know. But you can find these on Amazon. You probably can find them in other places. I'll be honest, I did not do a lot of research on these. And you can, well, $20 for one. They do have sets, but the sets I was looking at all seem to be for borders. And sets ranged in price from, depending on where you got it, from about $80-some up to about $120 Canadian. And I think there was 5 or 6 templates in a set. But I wasn't willing to invest that kind of money on something until I tried it. Now, the one thing I'll say, it is made out of thick plastic, which is good, just like a ruler foot quilt. But I do have a little bit of an issue with these pieces in the side, because when you're laying these on your quilt, if you aren't careful and press your foot against the more solid outside piece, it will come up a little bit and you have the problem that your foot may go underneath it. Now, I did spray some grippy on this because they are a little slippery, and the grippy makes them stick to your fabric a little better. But I think I need to give it another coat of that today before I use it again. But I'm going to give it a try and see what happens. And the beauty of this kind of design is if I make a couple of mistakes, nobody's going to really notice it. So, you know, probably it's good practice too for free motion quilting if you're doing meandering, because you'll, or at least in my theory anyways, you'll build up muscle memory as you follow this pattern around. So maybe, you know, maybe after I've done a whole quilt on that, maybe I'll have enough muscle memory to be able to do it without a template. But anyways, if it works out, I may buy more. Okay, so that's what I'm going to start working on. I'm going to get working on that after I'm finished this today and get it posted. And I've got my tables all set up for that because, you know, I've shown a video of how I do that. And yesterday we did venture out and we went to Costco. Just as an aside, I get a little paranoid these days. If I go out to a store, I want to get in and get right out. That's, I guess, a result of all this lockdown and isolation from COVID. I get very annoyed with people when I go into places if they get too close to me. And in Costco, they do have it somewhat regulated, but people still were all over the place, and I was just getting paranoid. So we had our list, we got in, we got out. And one of those things on the list was another one of those tables that I've shown you before. I now have 4 of those foldable tables that I put all together in my rec room, and I lay out my materials for layering the quilt on that, and it works really well for that. I'm getting very good at layering it using that method. And, you know, I've tried several different methods and several different locations for doing this, and this has worked the best. And then I'm going to set my sewing machine up out there, and it becomes my quilting area. And with all those tables, I can lay the quilt out to the left of me and to the front of me, and the weight is distributed, and it makes life a lot easier. A long arm machine would make life even easier, but that's down the road, who knows when, if ever. So speaking of machines, I have been having some problems with my Janome 15,000, and you are probably saying now, oh no, not again. Yes, and we talked quite extensively about that on Stephen and Walter Live, so I'm not going to go into details. I'm not sure if it's a major problem or not yet, but of course it did its old trick where it ate through a bobbin case. I had 2 spare ones that I had just recently bought. Dropped a new one in, and it was fine after that. I did try to file down the other one. It did it actually twice. The first time was minor. I was able to smooth it out. It worked for a while, and then I had a major one, and it just chewed the heck out of that bobbin case. So I'm sitting here and I'm debating and thinking, what can I do? And what my next plan is, I'm going to cut my losses. If this thing is sewing okay and it's just the problem with the embroidery, I might just buy a 550E like what Walter has, and that will become my embroidery machine, and this other machine will become strictly my quilting machine, my sewing and quilting machine. It's an investment of about $3,000 to do that. Of course, I'll buy it from Shirley at Ultimate Sewing, and Shirley usually has really good prices. She'll probably give me a good price on it, a good deal. I'm sure she's not going to be happy though when I come in and say the reason why I want to do that. But I'm not making that decision right now. I'm just going to let it wait, and we'll see how things work out with this machine. I'm done with it though when it comes to this. If this is going to go back and do the same thing it was doing before and the whole bit, then I'm done. I'm just done. You know, cut my losses and go. Okay, let's move on to this week I want to talk about Starch Alternatives. When I first got into quilting, everybody recommended Mary Ellen's Best Press, and it's a good product, but it makes me sneeze. And then something new they came out with, which I believe is made in the west coast of Canada, called Flatter. And it's really good, and I was using it for most of the time too. But then I discovered Acorn Precision pressing solution, and it is the best. So I thought I would show you each one of those products and talk about each one and why it is that the last one, the precision pressing fluid, is the one I'm most impressed with. So I'm going to insert that little video right here, right now. So I thought I would share my thoughts on what's called starch alternatives. Now, when you're making your blocks, many people like to starch their fabric before they do their cutting, and that helps, especially if you have a fairly thin fabric. It helps to keep it stiff and easier to cut. I don't do that very often. I only use that on rare occasions when I really feel that the fabric is really wrinkled up badly and I need to, get it nice and flat, or it is a cheaper fabric, which I try to stay away from, and it's kind of thin. But I don't like using spray starch because I find that spray starch sometimes can leave a residue on your block, and I have a tendency not to wash my quilts after I've made them. They don't usually ever get into a washing machine. They just sit around. I'm not a pig. It's just what I do with them. Now, so I don't get a chance to wash that starch out. I also find that depending on the brand of spray starch that you use, when you use your steam iron on it, it can make the starch flake. You get like dandruff on your quilt block. Now that's just me. Maybe I'm not doing it right. But what I prefer to use, and again, I use these very sparingly as well, are 3 different products that I'm going to talk about right now. Now the first one's been around for years and years and years, and most quilters, when you first get into quilting, hear about this stuff. It's called Mary Ellen's Best Press, and it comes in various sizes of bottles. This is a larger bottle. I think it's about a 32 ounce. 33.8 fluid ounces, and this makes it a little bit unmanageable. You need it in a spray bottle, and what I do is I just use some leftover spray bottles from other products and fill these up, and I find this a little bit handier for use. This is very, very good. It is a starch alternative, and it says on the side 2 products in 1, starch and sizing. Use on all fabrics, no clogging, no waste, no flaking even on dark fabrics, no residue or shine, no spotting, makes ironing easier, relaxes stubborn wrinkles, safe storage, doesn't attract bugs, well that's good to know, acid free, and guards fabric from soiling. So it is a really good product. One problem I have with this product though is it makes me sneeze. I don't know why. When I spray it out, it makes me sneeze. It makes me feel a little stuffed up. It's like an allergic reaction. Now, I really don't have any allergies that I know of, but every time I use this, this does make me sneeze. And I've heard other people mention that too, so I'm really not sure what's in this. They tell you to keep it away from children, do not ingest. Well, that's probably a good idea. Avoid contact with eyes. Yeah, that's all it says. And I don't think it really lists what's in it. It doesn't. So it's supposedly environmentally friendly, I have heard, but there's nothing on here that really says that it is. Now, scent-wise, it says this is linen fresh. I don't know if it comes in other scents or not. It does not have an unpleasant smell, and the smell doesn't tend to linger, I find, in the fabric for all that long. So this is very, very good. And I used to use this when I first got into quilting. But then I discovered another product that came out. It's Canadian made, and it's called Flatter. And it comes in these kind of bottles. It's about $15, runs between about $12 to $16 a bottle. It comes in different scents. And I started with the scentless because I didn't really want some other kind of smell on my fabric. But I have found as I've used it that I don't mind the scent. And it comes in about 4 different scents. I'm not sure what scent this is supposed to be. Yuzu, Y-U-Z-U, I have no idea, but it smells very nice. Actually, it reminds me sort of a tea smell. But it does come in, I think there's a pineapple kind of smell or a citrus smell, things like that. I mean, the scent-wise, why do we want scent? I don't particularly, but it's not unpleasant if you do get a scented one. This stuff is great. This, whatever it's made out of, will flatten out anything. If you've got a really badly wrinkled piece of fabric, give it a shot of this, let it have a few seconds to soak in, and then press your fabric and the wrinkles will come right out. Yeah, I really like it, and I was using it for quite a bit as well. And I'm just going to see what's it say on the back. It says, this smooth operator leaves fabric sleek, soft, and static free. Plus, the mild formulation is easy on sensitive skin and won't harm the environment. So it's environmentally friendly, so they claim. And it doesn't make me sneeze like the Mary Ellen's press does. It's made with plant-derived and renewable ingredients, soft mist sprayer for an even distribution, no sulfates, no silicones, no SLS or SLES, whatever that is, and definitely no wrinkles, it says. Biodegradable, phosphate-free, dye-free. Use steam or dry iron of recommended fabric settings. Spray entire garment evenly. Repeat as needed for desired stiffness. Use to freshen fabrics between washings or spray to reduce and help resist wrinkles. And it does list its ingredients, and I can't pronounce most of them, which seems funny. It says it's biodegradable and it's environmentally friendly, and yet there's a whole bunch of chemicals in this. So, you know, I don't know what they classify as environment friendly. But anyways, I do like it. It is good. Now, the one that I use the most now when I use it is actually this Acorn Precision Piecing product. I like this so much I bought a gallon jug of it. You don't need very much of it. And I bought a starter kit, and the starter kit came with this size of bottle, and it came with this sprayer. And this is one of those mister sprayers, which, to be honest, I like the idea of the mister sprayers, but every one I've had, including this one, don't work that effectively. The handle keeps sticking down in here, and I have to use my finger to pull it up to, you know, pump it again. However, having said that, this is excellent. This is really good when you have seams that won't lay down the way you want them to. You give it a squirt of this, hit it with your iron, flattens it right out. I use this when I want to stiffen my fabric a little bit, especially when I'm doing embroidery. It is pretty much, it does have a little bit of a scent, but it's not very strong. Doesn't make me cough. And it says, distribute easy press fabric treatment evenly, renews the fabric after pre-washing, and press seams perfectly flat. And that's that last one. And it really does. It is remarkable. And as I said, you don't need a whole lot of it. Now on the back it says you can use it too for accurate piecing, easier quilting and applique. The other thing too is this company Acorn has a companion that goes with this, which is called Acorn Precision Piecing Glue, which is absolutely excellent. If you've got some really tricky seams or something you're trying to get very precise, lined up, and you don't want to use pins or clips, this stuff works like a dream. It takes very little of it. Now, not this stuff, this is the pressing solution, but the other one, the Acorn Precision Piecing Glue, works really well. You just put a little drop along your seam, hit it with your iron for a few seconds, and bingo, you don't need pins. And if you need to readjust the alignment of your pieces, it just easily pulls up, and it washes out as well. So that's a companion piece to this. But I thought I'd talk about it since these are often sold together. But this one I really like. So out of the three, my go-to one now is this, the Acorn Precision Piecing Pressing Solution. Big name. Okay. Easy Press. I guess it's Acorn Easy Press. So that's what I've been using since I started quilting, and I thought I'd share those with you. And especially if you're a new quilter, maybe that demystified some things for you, or maybe it just confused you further. Oh well. So like I said, I love that precision stuff so much from Acorn, I bought a jug of it, which was not easy to get, by the way, because they're usually sold out of that where the places I go to get it. I ordered it online. But if you can get it, it's worth the investment. It really is. And a little goes a long way. So, you know, I anticipate I will have this jug for a long, long time. I don't know if it can go bad or not. Never thought of that. Okay, that takes us to the subscribers quilt of the week. And this one was submitted to me by Christine, and I'm going to try to say her name correctly, and I'm sorry, Christine, if I butchered it. It is Pillarella, I think. Sorry, Christine. Anyways, she sent me some beautiful samples of her work, and I'm going to share those with you right now. This week's subscriber quilts are really not quilts at all, but are showing us how Christine, and it's Christine Pillarella, and I may have butchered her last name, and I'm sorry about that, Christine, but how Christine uses her embroidery machine to dress up some things around her home. And she writes, I am not a quilter that has done big quilts. I'm an embroiderer who sometimes quilts. I like to take nothing and make it into something. Mostly embroideries into home decor. And she also says, these are pieces that go together from the same design. At the time, I sewed in my bedroom and made these for my attached bath to go along with both. So what Christine is showing us here is the versatility of using your embroidery machine to dress up some common household items to make them into beautiful decor. And I think she's done an excellent job, and they're very inspiring. They've given me some ideas as well. So thank you, Christine, for your presentation. So beautiful work, Christine. Thank you for sending those to me. And if you would like to be a featured subscriber quilter on here, on the Idiot Quilter, all you need to do is send me some pictures and a really brief little blurb about your creation. And I have this opened up not just to quilting, but also to anything related to textile art, to sewing, embroidery, that kind of thing. It could be a pillowcase, it could be a placemat, it could be a table runner, it could be a wall hanging. Any of those things I'm opening this up to. I would love to see them, and I would love to share them with everybody else. So to do that, you just send me an email with your pictures attached and a little blurb, and my email address is in the show notes below. And speaking of the show notes, or as I call them, the shout outs, of course there is a link to my favorite quilting store in my area, Ultimate Sewing, and I am putting that there as a permanent link for them, because I can't say enough about the service that I have had from Shirley over the time that I've been quilting. And you know, it's just excellent. So this is the least I can do for her. And there's a link to another quilt store that I like, called Annie's Quilt Shop. It is in my area as well, and I'm going to talk more about that a little bit later on. And there is a link to a YouTube site, which you may or may not know about, called Quilt Addicts Anonymous. Now, I have stopped watching this on a regular basis. In fact, I've gotten very particular about the YouTube channels that I do watch that are related to quilting, because I used to watch them all. I'd find a new one, I'd put it in my subscription list, and I just couldn't keep up anymore with all of those. There are a couple that I still watch on a regular basis, but these other ones I pick and choose. If they have a topic that sounds interesting that I want to explore further, then I'll tune into them. And Quilt Addicts Anonymous is one of those YouTube channels. This is not a negative about that channel. It's just that, you know, how many more videos do I need to see about binding a quilt? Because I pretty much think I have that mastered now. So it's when, you know, they talk about something that's kind of unique that I watch. But if you've never checked out Quilt Addicts Anonymous, you should, because there's a lot of really interesting stuff there. Now, it's also a store as well. It's in the States, so those of you that are Americans, easy enough for you to order things from them. For us here in Canada, we can as well, but you know, it depends on the shipping, it depends on the exchange rate, and I want to support Canadian stores, so I might see something on the Quilt Addicts Anonymous site, but I'm going to see if I can get it in Canada first. So anyways, it's worth checking out, and I have the link for it in the shout out notes. Okay, so that takes us to another one of the patterns, Rented Lips, that I have hanging on my vision board. That's a project I want to get to sometime this year. And this particular project, let me grab my things here. It's a Dresden Bloom. I've always wanted to make a Dresden Bloom, and it's by the Cozy Strip Club. It's a Cozy Strip Club pattern, which comes from Cozy Quilt Designs, and I do love their, I take it out of the bag here because I'm going to get glare. Well, still get a bit of a glare. It's the Dresden Bloom. I think it's really cool. I did have to buy a ruler for this as well. In fact, I think I had the ruler before I had the pattern. One thing I like about Cozy Quilt Designs is that they're written very well. They're very clear, very easy to follow in most cases. And I can go to their website directly, see a pattern I like, buy it, and download it. I don't have to wait for it to come in the mail. So I find that very convenient. And of course, I don't have to pay any shipping on it. So that's one of the patterns. I don't know when I'll get to it. I have a feeling there's one ahead of this one, and I showed that to you last time. I have a feeling this one I won't get to until maybe late spring, early summer, who knows. But I have picked out the fabrics for this, and the beauty of that, and the beauty of a lot of the Cozy Quilt Designs, is that they love to use jelly rolls, and I love to use jelly rolls. And so I have this jelly roll, and this is a K-Facet jelly roll from Free Spirit. And you know I have a love for K-Facet fabrics, although lately I've been getting a little bored with them because he really hasn't, at least to my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't seen anything new from him in quite some time. And so these jelly rolls and yardage and things like that, charm packs, are all just the same line, just in a different format. Nevertheless, I still like them, and I think this combination that's in this jelly roll pack will make a beautiful Dresden Bloom quilt. And I believe it says you need, well, it talks about yardage on here. It says you need 2.5-inch strips, which is what these are, with the fabric, and it says you need 50 of them. Well, this only has about 42, I think. Has 40. So I'm 10 strips short. However, that's not a problem because I have some yardage of this same fabric, so I'll just cut my other 10 strips from the yardage when I do it. Or who knows, I might pick up another one of these at some point in time for it. So I think the finished, it's not a huge quilt. It's 54 by 54 according to this, but I do like it. Now the one thing about making Dresdens, and I did a sample one out of some scrap fabric, they're very easy. I mean, basically you just have these two strips that you sew down, and then you just fold the points over, and it's pretty much done. So I think, you know, you can get into an assembly line, a little curl there, an assembly line procedure here with this kind of thing when you're making them. Because by the looks of things, there's quite a few of them to make. Yeah. So that's going to keep me busy. So yeah, that's going to be a project down the road, I hope. Okay, so what's that take me to? Ah, yes. Now it comes to this quilt behind me, what I call the broken block. And I did critique it. This is not, this quilt I made a while ago. It's not really a beginner quilt for me, as you'll hear me talk about it. It's more in the, you know, the middle stages of so far on my quilting journey. I don't know if any of that made sense. Well, watch this. This week's quilt critique is one that I've made relatively recently in the last few months, so it's not a beginner quilt. However, this is a little different style of quilt because what you see in front of you here is made up of orphan blocks. So these were blocks that I had made for other projects that either didn't work out or I was just trying them out. I may have cut some of them weird, as you can see, but all done on purpose. And I thought, well, why not make a quilt out of them? And I call this one broken blocks because that's what these are. I had no plan in mind when I created this. And in order to get the blocks to all fit together, they were various sizes. I decided on one size, cut them down to that size, and then put sashing in between them to separate them. I think it actually turned out pretty good. Now, I wasn't that concerned about the color when I picked this out either. But they all seemed to kind of fit together in the color scheme. I tried to tie that color scheme in by putting a couple of borders on the outside of this that echoed the same colors in some of the blocks. And then bound it as well with another strip of fabric that also matched. So for something that's unplanned, something that was just, I was fooling around, I think it turned out not too badly. Now let's take a look at it a little bit more closely. Now you will see that there is a block that obviously has been cut incorrectly. But I said that I cut each one of these blocks down in order to make them fit. And there's a flaw in some of these. Like for example, I guess on this particular block, at the time that I was making it, I was experimenting with some of the decorative stitches on my sewing machine. And so that's why you see these, you know, random like stitching patterns that are on here. I was probably attempting to make what's called a crazy quilt, and I guess I abandoned the idea at the time. Here's another example of where I was trying to use not decorative stitches but embroidery, and of course it's cut off because I cut the block. Pieces are not straight, and they're not supposed to be. This is a completely scrappy and random quilt. Here again are some blocks where I was playing around with the decorative stitches. And here this was probably a block left over from the Flying Geese quilt that I made at the time. And again, I just cut it down. So in a sense, what these blocks look like is they kind of pull your eye out of the quilt design and into sort of, well, what would that block look like if it was all there? So it kind of engages your imagination, I think. Now let's take a look at my binding here. Now of course I said this is one of my quilts that I made recently, and so my binding is pretty good. And I have nice mitered corners as well. I also was attempting to do a little bit of combination of some free motion quilting in some of these blocks and a little bit of walking foot. So if you look, this is all free motion quilting that's done in here, and I must have been practicing my meandering look, or is this stippling? I get the two mixed up. But you know, I didn't do too bad a job, and I guess I must have limited myself to doing the free motion quilting idea on each block. And I think I got progressively better. If you look here, I've got some sharp points. And when you get over to this one, they're a little bit more rounded, a little bit more curvy. So in a sense, I use this quilt to practice some free motion quilting. And I didn't really like it when I first got started with it, but it grew on me. The free motion quilting actually doesn't look all that bad. Now, I probably got a little tired of that and decided on the sashing that I would just do just a simple wavy walking foot, and that's what I finished off with too out here in the borders. So you know, it's a very colorful quilt, and actually I kind of like it. Now what I do on the backing, well, now you can really see the free motion quilting and what I was attempting to do on the back. But a few loose strings on the back of it there, but actually I think for the type of quilt that this was, this turned out pretty good. If anything, I love the colors in it. And that was just with what I said, orphan blocks. So this is the broken block, say that fast 5 times, quilt. So moving on, let's talk about this week's spotlighted quilt store. And this is one that's called Annie's Quilt Shop. Annie's Quilt Shop is in a quaint little area of a town that's about half an hour, 20 minutes east of me, called Newcastle. And there's a section in this town that looks like a old style Western town. I'm not really sure why it's there, but I do know they hold events in that area, and a lot of times film crews come out to use it as a backdrop to a TV series or a movie or something like that. Well, Annie's Quilt Store is right in the center of all of this, and the outside of it looks like an old Western storefront. It's very, very tiny inside, but she has a lot of really interesting fabrics in the store. And the prices there are a little bit more than what I get at Ultimate Sewing, but you've heard me say before, Ultimate Sewing has the best prices on quilting fabric. But why I like going to Annie's every now and then is because they have things that Ultimate Sewing doesn't. And Ultimate Sewing and all quilt stores each have their own flavor. And that's part of the fun about, you know, when we used to be able to do little road trips and do little shop hops and things like that. Going into different quilt stores because they have a different type of fabric, a different flavor or style. Annie's is like that as well. They're very friendly in the store, very helpful. They have a good selection of notions as well. I'm not sure if they run classes. I think they might, but of course right now it's COVID. So Annie's does have an online store, and I have checked it out and I have ordered from it before. The only thing with Annie's is when I ordered last time, no, I'm sorry, I have never actually ordered from Annie's online. I thought about it, but what held me back was I wasn't really sure how you got it. She has a curbside pickup back when it was completely locked down. Right now, we can go back inside the stores, you know, only a few at a time. And in her case, the store, I think she can only allow about 2 people in at a time because it is that small. So you might have to wait. I don't know if you can phone for an appointment. I don't think she takes appointments. I think you just take your chances. But as far as ordering online, I was looking to see what her shipping policies were, and I can't find them. Now, you can contact her. She has an email address on her site, and I suppose you can find out. And I'm sure she will, you know, if you want something shipped to you, she will tell you how to go about getting that from her. But anyways, she's got a lot of her fabrics up there. Prices, as I said, are a little bit high. On average, they're about $20 a meter. Which I find pricey. Okay, so when I go there, I'm very, very selective about what I buy because of that price. Although she does have a customer loyalty program as well, and I'm not really absolutely sure how it works, but I think you get points according to the dollar amount you spend each time. And I know there was one time when I went in there and I had $50 worth of points. So it doesn't take long to rack it up. And that was great. I mean, I got $50 off. Mind you, I think I spent $300 that day. But, you know, still better than a kick in the head. So she does have that. She does have some very good sales that she posts on her website as well, on her online store. And what else did I want to say about it? Yeah, it's just a nice atmosphere as well. It's something a little different because of its setting in this little fake Western like town setting kind of thing. But I like to go there for something different. So you might want to check out Annie's Quilt Shop online, and the link to it is in the show notes. Okay, so that takes us pretty much to everything I want to talk about, with the exception of the retreat. An update. We have lots of prizes. Ultimate Sewing has donated 20 gift certificates. Class Act, my local scrapbooking store, which I love as well, have donated 15. And there's some other ones coming from Chatterbox Quilts from Kim out west as well. We haven't finalized that yet, but it's coming. Everything's in place for the retreat. I'm just now working on the fine-tuning of the tech part of it. I'm going to have to run several computers that day. And you'll see why when the day happens. And I'm hoping that things run smoothly on that. Because I want this to be, as you know, a great experience for everybody, including me. And people are getting excited about it. I sent out another email just yesterday to everybody who's a participant, asking them one thing I didn't think to ask people, where are you from? Because, you know, I want to do sort of a geographical statistic, you know, how many people are from the States, how many people from Canada, how many people from other places. I have one person that is registered in I have a hard time saying this. I don't know why. Croatia. So that's interesting because the time difference is fairly great. I don't know if it's 6 or 7 hours difference. So we're starting at 9 o'clock in the morning my time. For them, it's going to be late in the afternoon. And of course, the ending time is 9 o'clock p.m. our time. So it's going to be in the wee hours of the morning for this person. But maybe that person isn't going to spend all the time or whatnot, or I don't know. But anyways, it's great that I have somebody from that far away. Amazing, really, when you think about it. So I've asked for people to tell me where they're from. I've asked for a picture, one picture per person of a favorite quilt or craft, and I'm putting together a slideshow. And I think to date I have about 30 some slides in that. So I'm thinking I may have to divide the slideshow up into segments and play them at different points during the retreat. Because as you know, I don't want to take up a lot of time. I've got 3 presentations happening already that day. I don't want to eat up all the time with presentations. I want to give people lots of time to work on their projects because that's really what a retreat is all about. I've had a few cancellations, and that's fine. And I've have people on the waiting list, and I've plugged them in. I still have a waiting list, and if you're on the waiting list, well, what can I say? I'm doing it in the order that those requests for the waiting list came in. So, yeah, the reality is I will not be able to accommodate everybody on the waiting list, and I'm sorry about that. But as I said, if this goes over well, there will be another one down the road, and I'm hoping to be able to accommodate more than just 90 people at the next one. But let's get this one under our belt. Okay, so that's the latest on the retreat. Oh, I sent out some stuff about how to use Zoom on different platforms as well for anybody that might be a newbie on it. And next week I will be sending out a major email which will talk about the sign-in procedure, some etiquette that we need to follow so it's a great experience for everybody, and just general information things on that too. So that'll be next week because, yeah, 1 week from this Saturday is the retreat. Boy, the time's gone by fast, hasn't it? So I'm looking forward to that. And I know from what I've heard from other people, they're looking forward to it. And so it's going to be great. It's going to be great. So that's it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I hope you got something out of today's episode. And we'll see you again real soon. So have a good day. Happy quilting, sewing, crafting, whatever gets you going. Bye-bye.